Time for Dirt Daily, and today's project is the little white YJ. This is the Jeep Wrangler that I've been fixing up, sprucing up a little bit here and there because I want to sell it. I don't need it. I got a lot of Jeeps, and I really want to find some young person that wants to get into four-wheeling and wants to buy their first vehicle. So I will make you a good deal if you're 19 years old or younger and you want to buy a Jeep to go four-wheeling. This thing has an awesome new top, has great new tires, four-cylinder, manual transmission, bare bones, no stereo, no air conditioning. This thing is just your bare bones Jeep, but YJ Wranglers are great platforms to start off of, and this thing runs pretty good. It's got a few little issues that we need to work on yet, but then it's going to go down the road. Before we do that though, before I touch the YJ today, I think we need to answer a question that a lot of people have been asking, which is about another Jeep. Sort of. I have a 304 Jeep V8 engine, and about 6 or 8 months ago I dumped 5 gallons of diesel fuel into the engine because it was seized up and it would not turn. Let's go see if that engine has broken loose or has gotten loosened up enough that we can break it loose and turn the crank by hand. If not, that engine might become an anchor. All right, let's go. All right, little Jeep. Let's see if you will start. That's good. This thing is so loud. That's the next project, is to fix the exhaust. There's a bunch of exhaust parts and muffler in the back, but it doesn't, I mean, it needs an exhaust. It's just loud. I wonder how the four-wheel drive works. Oh yeah. This thing chugs right up the hill, no problem. Good little Jeep. This is it. This is 73, maybe 74, AMC 304 V8. This is the exact same engine that I had in my very first Jeep way back when I lived in Pennsylvania, and I bought a little CJ5. And this isn't the same one. This is the same model. And I bought this thing because, I don't know, it had some parts on it that I thought I wanted. I definitely want to take like the power steering pump off and put it on another Jeep I have with the 304, but it was all locked up. The rear end's locked up and the engine's locked up. So about 6 or 8 months ago, I came up here and I just dumped diesel fuel into the carb, into all the oil filled areas. Basically, I just dumped diesel fuel in because I had read somewhere, oh, you put diesel fuel in and it'll break it loose. So it has sat. It's been rained on. It's been out in the sun. It's basically been cooked, washed, and rinsed and repeated multiple times. And now we're gonna see if anything's broken loose. I'm gonna pull the spark plugs off, and then we'll see if we can get it to crank over by hand. Oh, that one definitely had some in there. That one also has some in there. Spark plugs are out. Let's throw a breaker bar on this thing and see if it'll break loose. Done. This thing's junk. I'm sure I could pull it apart and get down under the heads and see, but for me, what I really want is a power steering pump, all the power steering pump brackets, hoses, power steering box, because I have another Jeep that I would like to put power steering on that has a 304 in it. So there you go, everybody on the internet that asked. Maybe I'll come back up and dump some more stuff down all of these cylinders, but I'm pretty sure this thing is. What did we learn? Well, we learned the 304 is still locked up. We learned that the four-wheel drive in the YJ works. Parking brake works too. The YJ does not have power steering, but that's fine. My first Jeep didn't have power steering. I turned out okay. There's probably a good chance that there's more parts broken inside that engine or locked up or rusted solid, all of which is fine because we have a YJ we need to work on and get ready for one of you to drive around this summer. So let's put this thing in the shop. So today's project is, you can probably hear today's project. The exhaust on this little YJ is basically non-existent after the cat, so it's really loud. I get it. A lot of people like a loud exhaust, especially if you have like a hot rod, something that has a lot of power. This little YJ has a 4-cylinder, it doesn't have a lot of power, it's just loud. And here's some things about having a quiet exhaust. If you're off-roading and you have a quiet exhaust, you can hear if somebody is yelling to you, whether they're like, look out, there's a big rock, or look out for that tree, or if they're spotting, they can be like, hey, a little left, a little right. Like, they can use hand signals, but you can also hear them. And here's one, if you're a kid and you have a loud Jeep, mom and dad are gonna know if you're sneaking out at night to go four-wheeling. So having a quiet Jeep really isn't that bad. So, I mean, like my little red Jeep is kind of loud. So it's not that I'm anti-loud exhaust. It's just that I have an exhaust system to put on this, which is basically stock, and it's gonna it'll quiet it down enough, it'll make it a little bit nicer, especially if you have like a long commute to school or to a job or whatever you're doing. So today's project, we're gonna quiet down the little YJ so that you can have more fun with it. There's a lot of different options out there for exhaust, but I just wanted something simple. So I called up Quadratec. I'm assuming you know Quadratec if you've got a Jeep, but if you don't, they have like an online catalog. They make or sell everything for Jeeps, from seats to seat covers to exhaust kits. This kit comes with a new cat, but this catalytic converter is not legal in California. I think it's the 48 state version or 49 state. Basically, if I put this on and I sell it to somebody in California, they are not going to be able to use this, and they will have to cut it back out or take it back out. So I'm not going to install this. I'm hoping that I can install the rest of the kit with the front half of the exhaust and the cat that's already on there. So it'll basically be a muffler and some pipes and some hangers, and then it'll be a little bit quieter and ready to hit the road and go get smogged wherever you are. But I will send this with whoever buys the Jeep, because maybe in your state you don't need to have the cat that's in there, you could use this one down the road if that one ever fails. So the kit basically comes with some clamps, exhaust hangers, and a couple pipes. This is probably the rear pipe. So let's raise it up and see what we got. You can see the cat right here beside the transfer case. It's basically disconnected right in front of the rear leaf spring hanger. So most of the exhaust behind the driver and passenger seat is missing. So this is what needs to be replaced. However, after I started looking at the rest of the exhaust, it's kind of cobbled together with some bad welds and it's kind of rusty. So I think I'm going to change my plan. Instead of keeping the California legal cat that's in it, I'm going to try and disconnect the front section of the exhaust pipe and just send that along with whoever might buy this Jeep, or cut it off where they can just use the cat, and I'm going to replace it all with the whole new kit that came from Quadratec. This is going to be the biggest problem. Here is an O2 sensor that runs into the downpipe from the engine. I need to be able to get that out. Otherwise, I have to replace the O2 sensor, which I'm not opposed to replacing it, but it'd be really nice if I didn't have to go buy more parts for a Jeep that I'm trying to sell. So I'm going to spray that down and try and back it out. And then there's just 2 bolts on a flange up there. And if I can undo those 2 nuts, the whole front section should be able to come out. And then I can put the all new exhaust in from the engine all the way to the back. I got, instead of removing the O2 sensor, I just unplugged it. I undid the 2 nuts that bolt on to the flange on the exhaust. And now this whole front section can just kind of feed out. That is the California cat. Here you can see how this flange just bolts on and just swivels around, but it has 2 holes that go over some studs and some nuts hold it in. And then there's the O2 sensor. So now that everything's removed, I can put this in the vise, maybe even put a little heat on that if I need to in order to get that to break free. I think we might have gotten it. Oh yeah. This is the reason why you always put anti-seize on an O2 sensor when installing it. The new exhaust system has 4 components, 5 if you count the O2 sensor. There's the downpipe from the engine. There's the catalytic converter, which can actually be mounted either direction. So inlet can be on this side or this side. There's a really basic muffler, which is centered on one side and offset on the other side. And I'm pretty sure from looking at another YJ that the centered piece is going to be on the front. But behind that is the tailpipe. Now, I know exactly where the tailpipe goes because it has these 2 exhaust hangers, and the old exhaust hangers are still on the frame. So my plan is to install the tailpipe, install the downpipe, and then I can figure out exactly where the cat is going to live, where the muffler is going to live, if the muffler is going to sit like this so the outlet is close to the frame, or sit like this so the outlet is close to the drive shaft, or if it has to be spun around completely and have the center be on the outlet. But I'm pretty sure that the centered piece is the inlet. So step 1, hang, even if it's just temporary, we're going to hang the downpipe, we're going to hang the tailpipe, and then we can do some measurements and figure out where these 2 go. I installed the downpipe off the engine. I installed the tailpipe that will be on the back of the muffler. And then I measured from the tip of the downpipe to the inlet of the tailpipe, and it was 34 inches. So in that 34 inches, I have to fit all of this. And if I just butt it all up together and measure everything, it's at just shy of 44 inches. So we need to lose some length. Now, this end of the muffler, if it sleeves over the top of the tailpipe, we can probably lose about 2 inches. This end of the cat, if it sleeves over the downpipe, we should lose about another 1.5 inches, maybe 1.75 inches. So, and then, so if we measure it from 2 inches in from that end and about 1.5 inches in from that end, that's about 40 inches. So the other thing is this part of the cat will probably end up sleeving into the muffler, and we can say we'll lose another 2 inches there. So that brings us down to 38 inches. So right in this section, we want to lose about 4 inches of pipe. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to chop 4 inches of pipe off of here, and then we will try to assemble everything, make sure everything fits, everything sleeves together, maybe even tack some of these parts together, and then we can put it back up in there. Oh, the other thing is I measured off of the frame to where the downpipe ends and also off of the frame to where the tailpipe starts, and that tells me that we want it offset towards the drive shaft on the back of the muffler. This is the inlet of the muffler, and this is the outlet of the cat, and they are very close, like it should go in, but the muffler is just a little bit too tight. So I'm going to use this tool, which I've had for years, which is actually kind of cool. What it is, it's a bunch of metal chunks and then these sort of wedge-shaped pieces at the end. And as you tighten this, it pulls those wedges in and pushes the metal chunks outward, basically enlarging it. So, and then there's like an O-ring rubber band type thing that holds it all together tight. I'm going to slide this into the muffler, like that. Get it in there a little ways. And then, as I tighten this up, it will enlarge this pipe just a little bit, just enough so that it slides over the end of the cat. There are really nice big machines that muffler shops have that do this. This is a pretty kind of cheapo version, but if it does the trick, it's all we need. Well, it opened it up some, but it also kind of oblonged it. So I think we're going to get in with a hammer and kind of knock it around, and then we can get that piece to go in. We might also come in on this with a grinder and kind of get that so it's a nice knife edge so that it'll all slide together. Let's see here. We probably want the heat shield towards the top because this heat shield is what's going to help protect the floor of the Jeep. I marked off 3 inches here. So all right, that's 2 inches in. and everything's going together nicely. I think we'll give it another 1/2 inch. Okay. Cat muffler. Now this end is going to have to do the same thing. So I'm going to put that tool in there, try to expand it a little. I'm going to run around the inside of it with a die grinder, and I may also take it over to the anvil. I have an anvil that has like kind of a cone shape at the end, and just jam it on that a few times. Try to open that up just enough that it'll go over, because that's the part that's going to go over the tailpipe. Here's my old anvil. I got this from my buddy Easy Lou. He was a junk man, and he brought me this anvil one day, and it's so heavy, but it's perfect for this job because it's trumpeting out that end so that it'll go over the tailpipe. Now I'm going to come in here and hit that with a die grinder, clean it up nice, and then I think we can start assembling all this. I decided to TIG weld the cat to the muffler. I don't get to TIG weld very often, and so I'm usually out of practice. This is a great little practice project because you can assemble it right here on your bench. You're not like in a vehicle trying to TIG weld up above your head. It's not life dependent, so this isn't like your roll cage. It's just a part that, and it's made out of thin material, so even though you could weld it with a MIG gun, which this Miller machine has both MIG and TIG, I wanted to practice my TIG welding, and this is a great little way to practice because it's right here on the bench. All right, let's put this thing in the Jeep. I have the cat welded to the muffler. You can just see the tip of the downpipe up in there. This is going to feed up through here and onto that pipe. I put the clamp on it already, and I might need a little bit of convincing. There it goes, all slid together. Put a piece of wood right here to kind of hold everything. I think that's about our spot. I'll probably have to come in and weld this. The clamp is trying to pull the piece of tubing around this front section, but the front section is just not fitting very tight. Ah, there, you see it wiggle around? That's because it's not tight enough. So we're going to set that right there, and there we go. That's where we want everything. I think we'll come in here and put a little tacky weld on there. Welded that. Got about 3/4 of the way around it. I think what I might do is undo the 2 bolts that hold it up to the exhaust manifold, and then I can roll it over, make sure it's welded all the way around, bolt it back up, and then we can finish up the rear end. There it goes, everything comes tumbling down. Next piece of the puzzle is the tailpipe. This is going to be a little bit tricky because it has to come over the axle, it has to go into the muffler, and then it also has to hang from some rubber mounts that have to attach to the body, and everything has to fit together tight, and then I'll probably have to come in here and weld this up. So this is probably one of those maneuvers that'll make you invent new words. But let's see here. Oh, and to make it all go together, I think we should spray it all down with some WD-40. Spray all these rubber pieces. Maybe even spray the exhaust a little. And we'll keep a hammer handy. So let's see. This comes up and over. This lines up with that. There we go. Now, let me get this other one lined up. That's going well. Okay, the hangers are all lined up. Now let's see if we can get the pipe to go into the muffler. There we go. Oh yeah. This is going not too bad. I'm digging how this is all working out. Muffler, pipe. So this back section, there's no exhaust hanger back here yet, but I like how everything is coming together. Sweet! I love welding. I really need to weld more. It's just fun. Oh, there's a spot right there. Totally missed. Not very good at welding, but I like welding. All right. Now we need to find an exhaust hanger for the very, very back. And we're probably pretty good to go. I needed an exhaust hanger on the very back, so I used a piece like this. It's basically a piece of metal with some rubber and then it's kind of a U-hook channel on the bottom. And then you just put a U-bolt clamp over the tube, and then that hooks in there, and you tighten that down. I actually twisted this so that it would attach to the side of the inner side of the frame rail. You could weld this to the frame rail. Mine actually had some holes there already. There used to be a bracket there, and so I just reused the bolt holes in the frame and bolted that up to support the very back of the tailpipe. All right, let's see how we did. Up in the front, you can see where I used a little bit of high temp RTV where the downpipe attaches to the exhaust manifold. There's the O2 sensor. I put some anti-seize on the threads so that it can come out down the road if it ever needs to. The pipe runs back here. There's used to be some sort of exhaust mount that would hang off the side of the transmission. Mine is missing, of course, but the mount on the pipe is there, so that could be added down the road if anybody wanted to. Then the brand new cat in there, new muffler, comes up to 2 more exhaust hangers right there, tucks up over the rear axle, and comes right out here at the very back. You could probably cut this off. It hangs down a little bit. It's not like a lot, but it could be trimmed off. I think I'm going to leave that for the next Jeep owner. They can trim it as they see fit. It's time to start the Jeep up and find out how much quieter this new exhaust is. I think this is like the last thing that I want to do to it. I'm going to give it a good pressure wash, make sure all the junk is off of it. After putting it on the ground, I decided that end of the pipe was too long, so I just cut it off. I'm going to hit it with a little grinder, and then I think we can finally start this thing and see what it sounds like. It's a moment of truth. Will the new exhaust make it quieter, make it that much nicer to drive this thing every day? Let's fire it up. I think that's pretty good. It's nice and quiet. You could drive this thing every day, whether you're driving it to school or to your first job or whatever it is. If you want to buy this Jeep, get a hold of me, send me an email at the link below. Otherwise, that's it for this Dirt Daily. We'll see you guys next time. What a cool little Jeep.